What was supposed to represent the triumphant Latin American debut of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's long-awaited global humanitarian tour quickly descended into abject humiliation in Bogotá earlier today. Instead of receiving the fawning adulation typically showered upon aristocratic celebrities leveraging Hollywood fame transcending cultures, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex confronted an overwhelming torrent of jeers, insults, and even projectiles launched by furious Colombian protesters during an outrageously hostile public reception. Rather than witnessing throngs ecstatically mobbing the couple begging for royal handshakes or selfies, the Sussex's heavily armored motorcade endured gauntlets of deafening boos echoing throughout Bogotá's colonial district as it attempted snaking toward the presidential palace for a scheduled meeting with Colombia's elected leader. Video footage captured shocking scenes of angry citizens screaming profanities and chucking eggs, water bottles, shoes and even feces splattering across Harry and Meghan's motorcade vehicles, with several supposed admirers reportedly detained following clashes against phalanxes of riot police frantically struggling restoring order. It was an absolute madhouse, becoming absolutely overwhelmed by all the shouting and hysteria, descending into complete anarchy. Despite all assurances the Duke and Duchess received, circumstances remained secured, said a veteran British royal correspondent among press pool eyewitnesses describing the unsettling pandemonium gripping the heart of Colombia's capital. Out of nowhere, spontaneous crowds began enveloping the entire area, completely surrounded by berserk mobs hurling blistering insults and various objects toward Prince Harry and Meghan's limousines. The unprecedented hostile ambushes represented a shockingly unforeseeable turn of events, projecting global humiliation upon one of Great Britain's most renowned aristocratic couples, presumably welcomed as honored imperial dignitaries throughout the developing world. The scheduled 5-day tour across Colombia, marking the tour's official launch, originally portrayed as a momentous breakthrough fostering international goodwill between the firm, Harry, Meghan, and Latin American populations. Instead, Wednesday's ugly clashes and vocal opprobrium in Bogotá ignited overwhelming scrutiny raining upon the royal duo, who constantly champion intersectional racial equity and social justice causes. If the Duke and Duchess experienced this kind of visceral scorn and hostility despite their alleged progressive humanitarianism advocating decolonial initiatives within Colombia's indigenous communities during preparatory meet and greets, then clearly their reception globally remains less than fanatically adored, explained Robert Hardman, esteemed biographer covering the royal family, in a television interview following the upheaval. This certainly casts disturbing optics, complicating the Sussex's delicate public messaging missions endeavoring bridging hemispheric divides, separating ancestral privilege from systemic marginalization. None of the British press corps traveling alongside Harry and Meghan anticipated anything resembling the raw antagonism fueling Wednesday's boisterous demonstrations, materializing spontaneously across Bogotá's streets without warning. Royal correspondents noted the couple originally expected celebratory crowds gathering, waving Colombian and British flags lining the palace route, considering their charitable tours philanthropic nature, focusing decolonization initiatives championing indigenous rights. Instead, highly organized dissident contingents materialized bearing giant hand-painted banners condemning the Sussex's humanitarian credentials as fraudulent while branding both privileged hypocrites perpetuating socio-economic oppression. Dejan de explotar nuestros pueblos para su beneficio capitalista Sussex charlatans. One massive banner screamed, hoisted above a sea of angry protesters directly obstructing the royal convoy's path, translating as, "Stop exploiting our people for your capitalist Sussex grifters." Others chanted coordinated slogans calling the dukedom racist colonizers stealing indigenous resources while profiteering off ethnic cleansing legacies motivating the 19th century's brutal subjugation and cultural erasure plaguing Colombia. The overwhelmingly hostile demonstrations proved especially stunning considering Meghan's strategic cultivation developing supposedly positive rapport and intersectional solidarity among Latin America's historically underserved indigenous populations exploited through decades of environmental degradation, socioeconomic marginalization and systemic racial discrimination. Supposedly the Duke and Duchess philanthropic mission prioritized amplifying local indigenous communities' perspectives, raising awareness, while enacting tangible economic assistance projects repairing generational damage. Correspondents relayed witnessing Meghan initially cheerfully engaging crowds, blowing kisses and waving from the armored motorcade vehicles once chaos engulfed the sprawling convoy. The Duchess spoke briefly through the limousine's bulletproof windows, politely introducing herself in halting elementary Spanish before disruptors unleashed withering waves of profanity-laced tirades, ultimately forcing her retreat. For his part, Prince Harry wisely avoided inflaming tensions, remaining stoically silent while their protective security details urgently reorganized, hastening escape routes. The people won't stand for pampered millionaire dilettantes fraudulently capitalizing off our ancestral heritage for the benefit of corporate snake oil mongers bankrolling Western biopiracy, screamed an indigenous activist identified as Maria Beatriz Iguaran Arana while whipping up chants deriding the royals. Meghan markets the same tired humanitarian tourism, exporting neo-colonialist indignities, commodifying indigenous civilizations into lucrative intellectual property franchises, financing luxury lifestyles. Such venomous rebukes represented the bitter culmination of already heightened tensions simmering before Harry and Meghan even arrived. Despite both royals professing supposedly progressive agendas championing systemic equity, overcoming colonial legacies crippling indigenous populations worldwide through historic subjugation, many Colombia advocacy groups accused the couple's charities covertly engaging nefarious biopiracy practices, extracting medicinal plant knowledge, preserving pharmaceutical patents, denying native ethnic groups royalties or profit-sharing entitlements. Explosive reports leaked across South American media outlets recently alleged Meghan Markle conducted unsavory negotiations, discreetly securing exclusive rights representing several indigenous villages, providing herbal remedy samples for her various business ventures. Those deals allegedly included vague boilerplate agreements permitting Archwell Productions harvesting extremely limited medicinal plant quantities for academic research and appreciation, without explicitly spelling out for-profit scientific commercialization intent, extracting natural compounds as intellectual property for Western biotech companies. It's a trick we've witnessed so many soulless multinationals pulling, stunting indigenous knowledge cultivated across generations, suddenly privatizing it behind patents walls, solely benefiting colonial empires while robbing everyone else.